Hello, everybody. Ole Miss 31, Mississippi State 24, right here on We've Got Notes, coming to you from the first time from the palatial Central Florida studios. Thank you for joining us. For what was a really good game. It was a game that felt like Ole Miss was 3 touchdowns ahead the whole way through. There was no chance that I thought Mississippi State had a chance to come back to win the game because they just weren't good enough. There's a Hail Mary at the end, but basically they just weren't good enough. And I don't know why that's moving, but all right. In the game, you basically had, like I said, it felt like an Ole Miss was 3 touchdowns ahead throughout the game. But the reality was they went for it twice and got stopped due to 2 drop passes, and ended up being a 1 touchdown game in the fourth quarter. And you just had to survive. Ole Miss scored 10. Mississippi State scored 10. Ole Miss ended up winning by touchdown. Matt Corral threw for 385 yards on 24-36 passing. Jaron Ely ran for 93 yards and a touchdown. And we're just going to give the O-line credit for that touchdown because they did a heck of a job. That was really what iced the game. Elijah Moore, 12 catches, 139 yards, set the school record for receiving catches in a year, in a season with like 85 or 86. He beat AJ by 1, and that's through 8 games. So there's still stuff to go. He's going to break that record probably by 20 or 25 by the time this is all said and done. And if he plays in the bowl game, it may go up by 30. So Henry Parrish got a lot of playing time. He's kind of cemented his role as the second running back. Snoop Connor is still the short yardage guy, but Henry Parrish is kind of stepping up into that. Ole Miss ran the ball 45 times, threw the ball 37. There was just adjustments made by Mississippi State in the second half where they were playing a lot deeper, a lot more drop 8, but they would zone blitz some linebackers and slant to try and confuse the offensive linemen. And sometimes that would work. They would get home. And Ole Miss just ran the ball to get them out of it, to do what they need to do, and they ended up winning the game 31-24. The defense played really well. They gave up 2 yards a carry on the ground. They did give up 440 yards, but it was all on 45 completions and 61 attempts. It was all dink and dunk stuff. Now, 40 yards of that went on that Hail Mary right before the game ended that put them in position to try another Hail Mary. But Jaden Walley from Mississippi State is a really good player. I expect to see him turn up in the next 3 years. I expect to see Will Rogers. He impressed the hell out of me in this game. For a true freshman, that was fantastic. Words cannot explain what getting Otis Reese meant for this defense. You probably take what was your black hole on defense and you replace it with your best player. Because people were running away from Sam Williams because we were so dependent on Sam Williams, and then they would get the edge and it, just start to go. But with Otis Reese there, you saw the aggressiveness, the physicality on defense. He really brought it. And of course, my favorite player in the Egg Bowl on defense, or Ole Miss's defense, is Tylen Knight. He played a well of a game. You can tell it meant a lot to him, and he played like it. But the big winners in this game, besides Lane Kiffin winning the first Egg Bowl, is probably Henry Parrish Jr., Elijah Moore for getting the record. Matt Corral did not play his best game, but he was relatively efficient. He didn't make any glaring mistakes. They found a way to get Elijah Moore a pass. That's kind of funny, just letting him do whatever he wants. But Oh, and also you heard media personnel for weeks leading up to this game talking about how Lane Kiffin was going to de-emphasize the Egg Bowl, and then he gets off the bus wearing an A.J. Brown jersey and a "We Run the SIP" hat. That's fantastic. That's trolling of the highest order, and that's going to be better than billboards for the next 365 days. Actually, probably less because we'll probably play that on Thanksgiving next year. Ole Miss ran for 163 yards, threw for 387. And the team stats, 550 yards of offense. We gave up 479, 440 through the air. We threw for 387 through the air just because we quit doing it, and ran for 163. And they ran for 39 on 16 carries. We were penalized pretty heftily. We definitely need to get that cleaned up before Texas A&M in 2 weeks. Oh, and in case you don't know, December 12th we're going to play Texas A&M, and December 19th we're going to play LSU. We're going to have an open week next week. You might have saw on Twitter, I was like, Steve's taking his victory lap, because I called that a few days ago. It was a relatively clean played game by Mississippi State. They gave you their best. They just weren't as good as Ole Miss at this point. But that's expected. Mississippi State had a big personnel overhaul they had to undertake. People don't realize how big of an overhaul that was going to be. I heard people before the season talking about KJ Costello and Mike Leach like it was just going to happen, and it's like, no, you don't run a run-based spread for 10 years and then have the personnel to throw the ball 60 times a game. You just don't. But Ole Miss 31, Mississippi State 24. The Egg Bowl returns to Oxford. The uniforms look fantastic, by the way. I kind of like the throwback to Code Blue for big games. He wore them for Alabama. Now he broke it out for Mississippi State. Although I don't want him to mess too much with the LSU game because the contrast on that is pretty fantastic. I expect the red jerseys, powder helmets, and white pants for Texas A&M. We get to see the benefit of Otis Reese during that game. All of a sudden, you can't run just off tackle against Ole Miss and make big plays because there are people there and personnel there that can make the play. It's going to be fun to watch. Ole Miss is 4-4 for the season. I predicted 5-5 or 6-4. We're well on our way for that. And everybody been taking a data point. And if Ole Miss won that game, all of us, they're going to win 7 games. Or if they lose that game, I don't see how they're going to beat anybody left on their schedule. No, just pick the games. There's no such thing as one game meaning anything about another game. But Ole Miss 31, Mississippi State 24. The Egg Bowl is in the books, and Ole Miss has 2 games left to play. Tune in Monday for the Palmcast with me from the palatial Central Florida studios. Thank you again for listening. You can catch us on Twitter at @TheStephenWillis or at Ole Positively. You can hit us up on Facebook at facebook.com/Palmcast or join our group at Positively Ole Miss. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel at Positively Ole Miss. Please do that and hit the bell so you'll be notified whenever we go live. And if Twitch is your thing, you can catch us at Positively Ole Miss, all one word. If audio is your thing, we're on Google Podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, and Pandora. We're also on a bunch of minor podcatchers that if we were to name them, we would be here all day. But again, thank you for listening. This is Stephen Willis signing off from the palatial Central Florida studios. We'll see you Monday.